Tonight, I'm taking you on a quiet journey, one that drifts gently across time, like morning mist over the sea. We're stepping into Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, not for its sparkle, but for something softer. A story with quiet wit, gentle charm, and an elegance that lingers like the scent of old paper and warm linen. It's a book I've always loved, not because it dazzles, but because it hums. Beneath the glamour and satire, there's a rhythm of thought, of voice, that feels timeless and tender, like a letter tucked into a drawer, waiting to be read again. Not for what it says, but for how it makes you feel. So wherever you are, winding down for the night, or simply seeking a calm moment, I hope this story brings a little peace to your evening. And if you're enjoying it, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Only if you feel like sharing. Now let's begin. Get comfy, because tonight we're sailing back to a quieter time, aboard a ship bound for Europe. The sea is calm, the air is fresh, and the day is just beginning. You open your eyes to the soft hush of morning in your cabin aboard the cruise ship. The light is gentle, filtered through the curtains, and the air carries a quiet stillness. The silk of your nightdress rests against your skin, familiar and soothing, like a well-worn melody. You sit up slowly, feet finding the plush carpet below, and reach for your dressing gown. It's the one you brought from home, cotton with a hint of perfume still clinging to the collar. As you slip it on, the fabric settles around your shoulders, warm and reassuring. A small ritual, a quiet comfort, a graceful start to the day. You find your sleep mask nestled in your hair, a soft reminder of rest. You lift it away, letting the morning settle around you. Soft light spills through the round windows, casting a pale glow across the room. The air smells faintly of the sea, briny and fresh, mingled with the comforting warmth of Earl Grey tea, left for you by Dorothy before she slipped out for her morning swim. The teapot sits quietly on the side table, its steam curling lazily through the knitted weave of its tea cozy. The cozy itself is unmistakably Dorothy's handiwork, plump and cheerful, stitched in mismatched yarns of butter yellow, faded lilac, and a touch of coral. Not at all like the sea outside, but warm and homey, like something made while chatting with friends or watching the waves roll by. It's one of many she's crafted during her time aboard. At this rate, there'll be one in every cabin by the end of the voyage. Nearby, a single yellow flower leans gently in its vase, its petals open to the light, adding a quiet whisper of spring. The room is still, save for the distant hush of waves and the occasional creak of the ship's timbers. An old rhythm, steady and familiar. Your gaze wanders across the cabin. Dark walnut furniture gleams under the soft light, the coffee table polished and rich. A green cockerel ornament perches atop a white chest, and the floor-to-ceiling curtains sway slightly, a slow rhythm to match your breathing. On the dresser, neatly arranged, sits a small collection of makeup, reminding you of the care and rituals you love. The carpet feels soft and welcoming beneath your slippers as you slip them on and settle into the morning. Today, there is no rush, no plan, no obligation, just the slow rhythm of morning and the comfort of your own space. You think back to last night, the laughter, the easy conversation, the sparkle of shared stories and playful glances. It was a lovely evening, full of warmth and light. But now, there's a quiet relief in being alone, a chance to exhale, to let the silence settle gently around you. You cradle your cup of tea, its warmth seeping into your hands, as the boat rocks softly beneath you, steady, soothing. The ocean stretches endlessly beyond the windows, and the waves whisper their rhythm. You take a slow sip. The tea is just right, fragrant but gentle. The porcelain cup is cool at the edges, its warmth rising with the scent of the sea and faint flowers in the room. You nestle into your dressing gown, the fabric soft against your skin. It's nothing extravagant, just well-worn cotton with a faded lining, but it means something. It's been with you through early mornings and quiet nights, packed into every suitcase, draped over every unfamiliar chair. A small, constant thing, a symbol of home wherever you happen to be. You breathe slowly, deeply, and let yourself sink further into the comfort of the morning. Through the round windows, the sky is pale and quiet, brushed with a soft mist that hangs in the air. You shift slightly, sinking into the chair's embrace, feeling your toes curl against the plush cushion beneath you. The cabin seems to be holding you still in time, suspended in a quiet point in history, where nothing rushes and everything waits. It feels safe here, as if the world outside can pause for a while, and you're allowed to simply be. Your thoughts begin to wander, slow and unhurried, like the tide beyond the windows. A faint smile touches your lips as you recall the cocktail party last night, the laughter, the sparkle of conversation, the way the room shimmered with warmth and ease. You'd told the group about your afternoon with Sir Francis Beekman and his antique snuff boxes. I said I'd love to, you'd offered sweetly, but only if he promised not to sneeze on me. Then, with a blink of innocence, you'd added, I think it's very educational to learn about things that don't sparkle. The laughter had come easily, bright and genuine. Dorothy, ever the sharp one, had leaned back with a grin and said, Lorelei, you could teach a seminar on how to be underestimated. Her words had lingered in the air, clever, admiring, and wrapped in just the right amount of truth. You set the empty teacup down on the tray, the porcelain making a soft, deliberate click against the saucer. It gleams in the morning light, fine bone china, translucent and pristine, with a platinum rim that catches the misty glow drifting in through the windows. You watch it for a moment, admiring the delicate silver vines that curl around its surface, the pale blue orchids nestled between them like secrets. The handle, shaped in a graceful arc, rests untouched now, cool, refined, and still. It's the kind of cup reserved for quiet. You'd like a tea set just like it, not for show, but for mornings that deserve beauty, for moments that ask you to slow down and notice, something to hold on to, so that when the world grows loud, you can bring yourself back to this. The hush of mist beyond the window. You rise and move to the vanity, where your morning ritual begins. The mirror is oval, framed in brass, and the light from the window catches its edge in a soft glow. You reach for the cold cream, rose-scented, smooth and cool, and begin to massage it gently into your skin. The scent is nostalgic, comforting, like the pages of an old magazine or the memory of your mother's dressing table. You wipe it away with a warm cloth, then pat your skin dry with a soft towel. A dusting of powder follows, then a touch of rouge on your cheeks, just enough to feel polished, not prepared. You reach for your lipstick, the shade a soft rose, and apply it slowly, watching your reflection settle into something familiar. Your hair is next. You brush it carefully, slowly, one stroke, then another, until the rhythm becomes its own kind of lullaby. You part it neatly and pin it into soft waves, brushing the front into a gentle curl that frames your face. You add a spritz of rose water behind your ears, and the scent drifts upward, mingling with the sea breeze that slips through the window. Finally, you move to the wardrobe and choose your outfit for the day. The mist outside is light, but the air carries a chill, just enough to make you want something warm and soft. You select a pale, lilac silk dress, fitted at the waist with a scalloped neckline and a skirt that sways just below the knee. You fasten a thin belt with a mother-of-pearl clasp, then reach for your shawl, a creamy cashmere wrap with delicate fringe. You drape it over your shoulders, letting it settle like a whisper. You slip on dove grey leather sandals, low-heeled and elegant, perfect for the deck, and add a pair of soft gloves, ivory with tiny pearl buttons at the wrist. And you're ready. Before leaving, you pause at the writing desk. Your diary rests there, bound in soft blue leather with a satin ribbon tucked between the pages. You open it slowly, flipping to a recent entry, one written just after dinner at the Ritz before you left for your cruise at sea. Last night at the Ritz was simply divine. I wore the silver satin with the pearl clasp, and I must say, it caught the light in all the right places. Mr. H was charming, in that way men often are when they're trying not to be. He asked me what I was thinking, and I told him, mostly about dessert and occasionally about diamonds. He laughed, but I wasn't joking. I do think there's something quite lovely about being admired, especially when one's shoes are comfortable and the lighting is flattering. I've decided that wit is best served with a touch of mystery and a very good pastry. I had both last night. You smile, reading the words in your own hand. You close the diary and tuck it back into its place, the ribbon marking the page. You make a quiet note to yourself. Remember to write all of this down. Not just the details, the mist, the teacup, the hush, but the feeling, the stillness. A day with no need to dazzle, no cleverness to perform, no eyes to catch or charm. Just you and the morning, and the space to be exactly as you are. It occurs to you, as you watch the mist drift past the window, that days like this are rarer than any party, more precious than any compliment, a kind of self-care that doesn't sparkle, but steadies, a quiet reclaiming of your own attention. And that, you think, is worth remembering. You open the cabin door and step into the corridor. The hush is deeper here, the carpet muffling your footsteps. As you walk toward the deck, the soundscape begins to change. The soft hush of the cabin fades, replaced by the creak of wood beneath your shoes. A sound that feels older, more alive. You push open the door to the outer deck. It swings gently, and the world opens. The morning is beautiful. Mist drapes the horizon in silver, softening the edges of sea and sky. The sun is rising behind it, casting a gentle glow that makes the waves shimmer like brushed silk. The air is cool, just enough to make you pull your shawl a little closer. You breathe in slowly, deeply, the scent of salt and sunlight filling your lungs. The wooden deck creaks beneath your feet, the boards shifting gently with the sea. You pause at the railing, resting your gloved hands on the cool brass. The ocean stretches endlessly before you, veiled in silver. This moment is yours. The sea, the sky, the stories, they all belong to you. And as you turn to walk slowly toward the lounge, the ship hums beneath your feet, a quiet rhythm to carry you through the day. You step into the breakfast lounge, and the first thing that you notice is how the warmth greets you. A low fire glows in the hearth at the far end of the room, casting soft amber light across polished wood and pale linen. The scent of fresh pastries mingles with hints of bergamot and wood smoke, creating a cocoon of comfort. Tall windows line one wall, framing the sea beyond, now wrapped in a soft mist. It hadn't been there earlier. The horizon was clear when you first woke, the sky pale and open. But somewhere between brushing your hair and tying your belt, the sea mist had snuck in quietly, like a thought you hadn't noticed until it settled. Now it drapes the ship in silver, softening every edge. You're shown to a table near the windows where the light falls just right. A blush-pink rose sits in a crystal vase, its petals just beginning to open. The menu is printed on thick cream paper, and you glance over it slowly, savoring the choices. You begin with a chilled grapefruit half, its edges sugared and broiled to a delicate caramel. Then, a soft-boiled egg, served in a porcelain cup with a tiny silver spoon. Toasted brioche arrives next, golden and buttery, alongside a dish of apricot preserves and clotted cream. You sip a glass of freshly pressed orange juice, cool and bright, and order a pot of Earl Grey to follow, its steam curling upward, mingling with the warmth of the fire. Just as you're spreading cream onto your toast, the door opens with a soft click, and Dorothy breezes in. She's glowing from her swim in the ship's heated pool, cheeks flushed, hair swept back into a neat twist. A deep navy wool cardigan wraps around her shoulders, paired with a tailored charcoal grey day dress that moves with quiet authority. Her pearl earrings catch the morning light, and her nails, short, neat, and painted in a soft coral pink, tap lightly against the menu as she sits down. As she leans in to greet you, a clean, familiar scent drifts across the table. Lifebuoy soap, bold, brisk, and unmistakable. It's the scent of warm towels and shared cabins, of early mornings and quiet rituals. It lingers gently, wrapped in steam and memory. "Well," she says, lifting her napkin with a flourish, "I've already conquered the pool this morning. Now I intend to conquer the pastry tray." You laugh softly, watching her eye a croissant with exaggerated care. "You do look victorious." Dorothy grins. "I was nearly defeated by a splashy gentleman doing laps, but I gave him my best glare and he retreated to the shallow end." You sip your tea, the warmth curling through you. "I'm sure he was terrified." She leans in, lowering her voice. "He should be. I've already done laps. I'm about to inhale half the bread basket, and I'm running on black coffee. I'm basically a torpedo in pearls. He didn't stand a chance." The waiter approaches, tall, composed, dressed in a crisp white jacket with gold piping at the cuffs and collar. His shoes gleam against the polished floor, and a navy tie rests neatly beneath his lapel. He carries a silver tray with quiet precision, and as he reaches your table, he bows slightly. Without a word, the waiter pours Dorothy's coffee into a delicate porcelain cup. He knows her habits well. 1 cup before her swim, and always 1 after. The steam rises in a soft curl, mingling with the scent of bergamot and wood smoke. He nods and moves on, polished and discreet. He's already thinking about his next task, but a quiet smile plays at the corner of his mouth. Earlier, a gentleman had asked if the grapefruit was feeling optimistic today. The waiter had replied, "It's citrus, sir." It's always a little bitter about something. These little exchanges, dry, peculiar, perfectly timed, were the rhythm of his mornings. The breakfast lounge is still quiet, holding that early hush before the day begins in earnest. There's a comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need filling. The fire crackles softly nearby, its warmth flickering across polished wood and gleaming brass. You hear the soft shuffle of footsteps and glance up just as an elderly couple enters the room. She's dressed with quiet dignity, her tailored wool coat in a soft dove grey, buttoned neatly over a pale blouse with a rounded Peter Pan collar. A string of pearls rests just below her throat, and her hair is set in soft waves, tucked beneath a pillbox hat trimmed with a tiny velvet bow. She carries a small handbag in one gloved hand, and in the other, a dainty leash attached to a long-haired chihuahua, its silky coat brushed to perfection, and by its proud walk, it knows it. Beside her, a border collie trots politely, its black and white fur gleaming, eyes bright and gentle. The dog moves with quiet grace, clearly well-loved and well-trained, pausing just long enough to glance around before settling near the fire. Her husband, tall and gentle-looking, wears a navy blazer with brass buttons and a cream scarf tucked into the collar. He walks beside her with a quiet steadiness, offering his arm as they make their way to a table near the window. A delicate pink bow is tied onto the chihuahua's collar. It stays close to its owner, hopeful for breakfast crumbs, while the border collie chooses the fire's warmth, folding its legs with quiet contentment. Both dogs look loved, soft, warm, and glad to be out of the sea mist that clings faintly to the windows. Dorothy watches the couple as they settle in. She wraps her hands around the cup, letting the warmth settle into her fingers. She doesn't speak, but her eyes follow the border collie's graceful trot and the way the little chihuahua nestles at its companion's side like a velvet button. She tilts her head, amused. "That dog's better dressed than I am," she murmurs, just loud enough for you to hear. There's no envy in it, just appreciation, and a flicker of admiration for the kind of love that brushes fur and ties ribbons before breakfast. "Is that your third cup?" she asks, tilting her head toward your teapot. "Or are you just trying to impress the English gentleman from last night?" You smile into your teacup. He did seem rather fond of Earl Grey. Dorothy chuckles. Of course he did. I bet he also knows the difference between a cravat and a cummerbund. He does, you say, setting your cup down, and he explained it in great detail. Dorothy groans. That's it. You're doomed. You'll be drinking Darjeeling by sunset and quoting Oscar Wilde by breakfast. You both laugh, the sound mingling with the clink of china and the hush of the waves. The fire glows steadily, and the mist outside wraps the ship in a quiet cocoon. There's a pause. The room settles. The sea breathes. Dorothy tears a corner from her croissant and pops it into her mouth. "You know," she says, chewing thoughtfully, "for someone who floats through life like a silk scarf, you're surprisingly hard to read." You glance at her. "That sounds like a compliment wrapped in a warning." She smiles. "It's wrapped in curiosity," she says softly, "and maybe a little admiration." "You always seem so composed," she says, her voice quieter now. "So certain. But I wonder if people ever ask, why you want what you want." You pause, the mist still visible beyond the window, curling like memory. The admiration, the diamonds, the fairy tale ease of it all. It glimmers, doesn't it? You know it's not yours. Not really. This life leans gently on someone else's fortune, someone else's name. But that doesn't make it any less captivating. There's something in the way the light catches a diamond, how it holds 1,000 mornings inside it, how it makes even silence feel curated. You don't crave the wealth, exactly. You crave the stillness it seems to allow, the softness, the way beauty becomes a kind of permission. I suppose, you say slowly, it started when I was very young. Dorothy doesn't interrupt. She simply sips her coffee, her eyes steady on yours. Soft, but alert. My mother worked hard, you continue. My father, well, he left early. We didn't have much, but she made everything feel beautiful. She'd polish the silver, even if it was just for toast. She'd wear perfume to the grocery store. She taught me that elegance wasn't about money. It was about dignity. Dorothy nods, her expression unreadable but full. You can tell she's picturing it. Your mother at the sink, the scent of rose water, the quiet pride in small things. But I also remember the worry, you say, the bills, the uncertainty, the way she'd smile even when she was tired. I decided very early that I wanted to be safe. Not just comfortable, safe. I wanted to be the kind of woman who never had to pretend. Dorothy sets her cup down slowly, the porcelain making a soft click against the saucer. And you are, she says gently. You're more than sparkle. You're steel wrapped in silk. You smile, the words settling into your chest like warmth. I do love beautiful things, you admit. But I think what I really love is the feeling they give me. That I'm allowed to be seen. That I'm allowed to choose. Dorothy leans back slightly, her gaze drifting toward the window. The mist is lifting now, just a little, revealing the soft blue of the sea beneath it. That's love, you know, she says. Not just romance, but being known, being chosen. You follow her gaze, watching the horizon stretch open again. I think, you say, I've always wanted both. Dorothy's coffee is cooling, but she's too busy watching the chihuahua to care. It's edging toward the toast like it's negotiating a treaty, slow, deliberate, eyes locked on a buttered corner. The man beside it remains blissfully unaware, flipping through the paper as if breakfast diplomacy isn't unfolding inches from his plate. Dorothy watches, amused. Then she says, I want someone who sees through the whole act. The charm, the jokes, the polished nails. Someone who doesn't fall for the performance, but stays anyway. You look at her, surprised. Not because she said it, but because she said it so plainly. No deflection, no smirk. She finishes her coffee, then adds, ideally, he'd be emotionally literate, a hunk of a man, and just self-aware enough to know when I'm right. And maybe just a little bit dazzled by how bossy I am. Not frightened, just wisely cautious. You blink. That's oddly specific? Dorothy shrugs. I'm oddly specific. Besides, if he's not slightly intimidated by my clarity, he's not qualified. You laugh, and the sound fills the breakfast lounge like sunlight through the portholes. Your schoolteacher once said your laughter burst into the classroom like a brass band with no sense of volume. But you never minded. You loved the way Dorothy reacted, the way her cleverness always made you smile. She could never stay serious for long. You glance at her again, and for a moment something shifts. Not just at what she said, but at how she carries it. The strength, the clarity, the refusal to be anything but herself. She lifts her empty coffee cup like a toast. To being bossy. And to breakfast. You clink your teacup against hers, grinning. And to being seen. Dorothy nods, then adds, you know, I think friendship is when someone sees you like that. Before the romance, before the performance. Just sees you and doesn't flinch. You nod, then glance down. Is that dog eating someone's toast? Dorothy doesn't even look. She's earned it. She lifts her cup again. To being bossy. And to breakfast. But this time, it's clearly about the little bossy dog and her breakfast.